Hi Anusha, hi Chirag. Am I audible?
Hi Kashish, yeah, you are audible.
Okay, I think today it should work.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I said good evening, sir. I was just kidding.
Okay, don't say sir.
अच्छा ठीक है, I'll say Master Ji. That will do.
Just
Just joking.
Kashish would suffice.
Okay. Kashish. Thank you. This is better, I think. Better than Geo.
Yes, for sure. This would much better. Just one thing. Are we clear with the concepts discussed yesterday?
Yeah, I am clear. I don't know about
What
others.
about
I can't say.
you, Chirag?
Yeah, Kashish, it's fine.
Okay, it's just fine. Okay.
No, I mean, I'm clear with those things.
Okay. All right.
I think we should focus a little bit more on mutable and immutable. I know those things, but I think
Okay.
few had queries, I guess, yesterday.
Okay.
Like as the things, as we focus more on the particular data types, there you can explain like what exactly it is.
Yes,
But
yes. So once we proceed towards tuple
enter
and
into
list,
those particular, yeah. That's
those
all.
will be much clearer
Thank
for
you.
sure. Hi, Gaurav.
Yes, yes.
Hi, hi
Gaurav,
Kashish.
Gaurav GeoMeet didn't work, so we had to switch to Zoom.
I know.
Yesterday
Thank
there
you
were
very much.
so many issues with GeoMeet. My
I,
system was crashed
yeah.
due to that.
Oh, okay. Because of that recording issue.
One was the recorder
Yeah,
was
and
I think not working fine, and also GeoMeet also was stucking in my laptop because my laptop is also very
No,
old.
actually, even audio was a problem in Geo.
Yes, yes, audio was also a problem, but I think this should work. I think there was
Yeah,
no.
this will work.
and guess what? 5 minutes before I saw a speech of Neeta Ambani on LinkedIn, which she's promising of Geo family and providing all facilities. Horrible.
Maybe sooner or later they will improvise that tool, but right now that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. And recording feature is also not there.
Yes.
That's why last two sessions were not recorded. I'm sorry, Gaurav, for that. You especially asked me to record, but yesterday it also didn't work. But I think
No issues.
you can
No problem.
take those sessions from the YouTube
Your
channel.
right?
I can share that
Yeah,
link.
correct. I have it. I already
Okay,
subscribed it.
okay.
Oh,
I think just because of yesterday's session, audience is very less today.
I don't think so. I think it is because of Sunday.
Okay, people are joining now. Hi Chetan, hi Dheeraj, and hi Vijay. Hi Dheeraj, hi Vijay. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
All
Hi,
right.
Kashish.
Okay. So I think without spending more time, let's get started. So till yesterday's session, we discussed about the second data type, which was strings, and we took few examples where we printed few statements using print statement, and we also discussed about few escape characters such as /n and /t. Now there was a case in which I wanted to print this statement. So let me take this example again. because this is a third escape character that we discussed. So which was adding one more slash. Suppose the problem in this statement is, if I just write, sorry, not like this. So this is my statement: print my Python files are saved under this location. If I run this, so Python will assume that this slash n is a escape character. So it will move the text to the new line and it will just skip this n, which is not what I want. So if I run this, you can see it has used escape character slash n and moved to the next line. So this is not the required answer. So to overcome this, we discussed a way yesterday. Let me just repeat that again. So we can add one more slash. So this is another escape character. This is the third escape character that we have discussed. First of all, first one was slash n to add a new line. Second escape character was adding slash t to add a tab space. And this is the third escape character, which is used to tell Python that the next text that we are writing is a raw text. Don't treat it as a escape character. So Python will now understand that the text that we are writing after the first slash is a raw text and will print the statement correctly. So I hope this was clear yesterday. Okay, one more thing that I want to highlight today is, instead of this slash, suppose you have multiple in multiple places, you have this slash n. Suppose if I write, let me add one more cell and paste it here. So here we have one new, and maybe there is one more folder under new which is called as New Zealand maybe. So you can have multiple folders such as that, and maybe there is one more slash t and suppose table. I want this full path to be printed, and in this case you have multiple escape characters in your print statement, which is, this is the first escape character, this is the second escape character, and this is the third escape character. So to overcome the challenge here, you can see how it is printing. This is not the required output. So to overcome this, what you can do is, first option is you can add a slash here, one slash here, and one slash here. So now Python will assume that all the text written after this slash is a raw text. So it will remove these escape characters and it will consider it as a regular text. Now it has printed it correctly, but suppose you have hundreds of escape characters within a one print statement. So to just shorten the, or to optimize the code, we can use a keyword which is R. So what does this R means? This is just telling Python that the complete text we are writing here is a raw text. It doesn't matter how many escape characters are there in this statement. If you just add R in the starting of the print statement, it will assume that the whole text is a raw text. Is it clear, or is there any is there any doubt on this?
It's clear, Kashish.
All right. So now both the statements have been printed correctly. The next topic is how to insert comments in the Python. So first option, as you can see that I have inserted comments in the Python. So first of all, why we use comments? Comments are used to, suppose I have written this Jupyter notebook, and if I pass it on to you, so you can get a very quick glimpse of each cell, that what each cell is doing here. So I have given a message to the user that another way for conversion of raw text is using R. So this way, this is just plain English that I'm using. So this way, another user who is working on the code written by me, so they get an understanding of each cell piece or each piece of code, like what this code is specifically doing. So this is just a way to pass on a message about each piece of code that you are writing. So first way is to using hash sign to comment a single statement. So using hash sign, you can just comment a single statement. If I enter to the new line and write it again, you can see it is not turned to blue. That means this statement is not commented. And if I run this, you can see that it has thrown a syntax error. So to make it as a comment, you have to add a new uh, comment comment symbol, which is hash. So this will make this complete statement as comment. This is the first way to comment a single statement. The second way to comment is, so specifically in Jupyter, we can write comments something like this. Just add 3 quotes in the beginning, and where you want to end, just add 3 more quotes, right? It can be either single quotes or it can be double quotes. Run this. You can see it has printed the complete text as is. This means it has not executed the single pieces of lines. It has just printed the text that we have written in this statement. So this way you can, maybe it is exactly not a comment, but yes, you can treat it as a comment. But in Jupyter, we basically comment using hash sign, which is the only way to comment it. But in other IDEs that we are going to discuss it later, like Spider, so there is a better way to comment multiple lines. So there we can just write /* in the beginning of the um, line where you want to comment, where you want to start the commenting, and you can add */ at the end position. Suppose I want to start here, I can write /*, and I want to end my comments here, I can write */. So this will comment out these 3 lines, but it doesn't work in Jupyter. That's why you cannot see that thing right here. But later on, I will be demonstrating how we can use comments in Spider later. So this is how we can use comments in Python. So let's just recall whatever we have learned till now. So in the previous session, we also learned float and complex data types. Then we understood the concept of mutable and immutable concept. And then we introduced string data type. Then how to use print statement, how to use these escape characters /n for new line, /t for tab space. And this is just to tell Python that next character is not an escape character. And using R, you can make the whole string as a raw text. And how to comment a statement in Python. So we have already learned these topics. Moving forward, now this will be getting little maybe complex, or maybe code will be getting lengthy little bit. So let's focus here. So what if I want to give spaces in the beginning of each line? There is a better solution to it. We can use another escape character /t. This is just an example that I have given right here. You can maybe execute it, and let me execute for you. You can see the indentation here, that first of all it has added /n, and then it has added /t for tab space. In the next statement, now whatever we were doing, like printing the statement. So what I'm doing here, so previously in the previous session, you must have seen that we were writing 5 print statement to print this text. But here we are printing it in just one print statement. But again, this is not a optimized code. To optimize this code, we have to use something else, because here we are using multiple commas, multiple times we are starting the quotes, and multiple times we are ending the quotes. And this can somehow lead us to some errors. But to optimize this code, there is another thing that we have to use, which is known as fstring. Trust me, in 90 or 95% of the codes, I use just fstring. I don't care about this syntax. This syntax was just for like educational purposes, but I prefer to use fstring all the times. So let's understand how to use fstring. So how to write above statement in just single print statement within one set of codes. Here you can see we are using multiple set of codes, but now we are just using one set of codes. Answer is fstring. So again, we have defined 4 variables: age, employee ID, name, and address. And just like R, we used R above to make the whole text as raw text. Here we are using fstring in same place, just like we were using R in the beginning of print statement. Then you start the quotes, and at the end you end the quotes. I think we are clear with this. So let me just add a new statement. So first of all, add f, start the quotes and end the quotes. First of all, you should take these steps while writing fstring. Now you start writing whatever you want to print on the screen. Suppose I want to write, please see my details below. Now you should think in your mind how you want to print the lines in your screen on your screen. So after this line, I want to move the cursor to the next line. For that, let's add /n. Now I want to add a tab space. So add /t, and then I want to write age colon and then its value. So for age colon, just write age colon, and this is a new thing for you. Whenever you want to get a value for any variable inside f string, you have to use curly braces, so that you are telling Python that this is not the plain text, this is a variable from which you have to take the value. So to take the value of age, this is just the text that we are writing on screen. To take the value of age variable that is here, you have to write in the curly braces, write age, which is the variable name. And next, in the next line, I want to move the cursor to the next line. I will write again /n and /t to add a tab space and write employee ID. And then employee ID, again, this is a variable, this one, this employee ID. So let me copy this. Since this is a variable and we are using f string, we have to keep this in the curly braces. And for name and address also, we are writing the same. So this is very optimized code. How we are just using you can use the double quotes here also and single quotes also, either of them. But again, we know the difference now between single quotes and double quotes. So if there is any apostrophe in between the statement, then we can use escape character or we can use double quotes. Okay, getting back to this example. Now let me run this. You can see now we have written the exact lines of code in just one line and within one set of codes that we have mentioned here, right? So this is much optimized. And for the next line that I've written, this has printed this block of code. Is this clear? Because understanding f string is very important, because there is a lot to print for the user on the screen, and you should know how to write the optimized code using f string. Or is there any question on this? Anyone?
Hi, Kashish.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, this string basically what it does, it converts the entire command to a function.
No, it doesn't convert to a function. F string is to make the full string. Like maybe you can think it like you can print a mix and match of the plain text and the variable values. So to get the variable values, just one catch is here, that you have to use the variable under the curly braces. Rest everything is same. You just start writing your text as is and then use escape characters as is. Just you have to mention the curly braces here where you want to fetch the value of a variable. So this is much optimized. Is that make sense?
Yeah, but like the above statement of the print
Uh-huh.
statement, which was also giving the same output, the only difference using f and not using f is that the double quotations that being used in that print statement, right?
In this one?
In every sentence, yeah, those double quotations before the /n, which
Uh-huh.
we are using. So I think apart from that, there is no difference between the two codes written.
No, there
Oh,
is so much
we have
difference.
used comma here to separate.
Yeah, you are
Acha, the comma. Yeah,
you're
okay,
using so many commas here. If the statement is very long and
okay.
you are using like 20 variables in just one print statement, this would be very difficult for you to like putting all the commas and then finding any error. Here you are just writing in
Mm-hmm.
plain statement. Wherever you want to use a variable value, you just write curly braces. Otherwise, just keep on writing whatever you want to show on the screen. This is very simple than the upper statement.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
All right, let's move forward. So now let me just go back to f string. So f string was not there in Python 2. As we know, there are two versions of Python. One is Python 2 and one is Python 3. So fstring was not there in Python 2. This was implemented in Python, I think 3.5 or 3.6. Prior to that, it was not available. And current version is Python 3.8. So what was there in Python 2 to achieve similar functionality? Let's understand. So this is the syntax of Python 2 that I'm going to explain. So how to write above statement is a single print statement within, like, this is the same thing. We have to use format function, which is widely used in Python 2 since fstring was not there. So now let's understand how to use format function. Although I would not recommend to use this since fstring is also already there, but we should have an idea like how to use format function. So all the four variables are there, just like we took above. Now we are writing the print statement. So print see my details below, everything is same. In fstring, we write the variable name in the curly braces, but in format function, we don't write the value, we keep the curly braces blank. So as you can see, wherever we want to keep the value of a variable, I have written the empty curly braces here for employee ID, here for name, and lastly for address. Then after writing or after closing the quotes within the print function, you can see that this bracket is not yet closed. This is getting closed at the end. So after completing the quotes, you have to write dot format. This is a function dot format, and then you have to pass on the arguments for this function. So how we pass the arguments? So first of all, I have given age, then employee ID, name, and address. These were the four variables that I created here. Now, how does it work? So these are known as positional arguments. So let's understand what is the difference between positional arguments and keyword arguments. There are two types of arguments that we pass on to a function. So first is the positional arguments, second is the keyword arguments. So in the keyword arguments, we specifically mention that this variable has this value. But for positional arguments, that is completely based on the position at which we are going to use the variables. Suppose this is the first empty curly braces, and we have given the value first value here as age. So this is this is at position 0. So remember one thing, that in Python everything starts from 0, not from 1. So that's why the position of age is 0, and that's why at this 0th empty braces, age will be passed on using format function. Then at first index, first empty braces, employee ID is at first index of format, so this will be passed on to this empty braces. Similarly, name is at second location, and this location will be passed on name variable, and similarly for address at the last. So it simply means that we are using the curly braces and the giving the variable values as we want to be printed on the screen. Suppose I change it to, and first, so let me just run this. You can see output is exactly same. But what if I change the sequence of this? I am writing employee ID first and then age. So it will now print age as employee ID, then employee ID as age. So age will be 1520 and employee ID is 10. So just changing the sequence can make your program wrong. You can see this because these are the positional arguments. Is it clear? Because this concept will not leave you anywhere in Python, because keywords, arguments, and positional arguments is being used everywhere. If you don't understand this concept, I can repeat it again, but if it is clear, we can proceed.
So key positional argument I understood. How you will put the keyword argument?
Okay, I will be taking that example in the next cell. So is positional arguments clear?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So let's proceed. So now, in case you don't want to give value from a variable, like we are giving it right now, so we are giving all the values like 10, 1520, Kashish, and Delhi. All these values are coming from some variables like age and others. For example, you don't want to pass on the value from a variable. How to do that? So let's understand. And one more important point is to note, you need to maintain the sequence of variables in the format function as I mentioned above. So now again, I have created 4 variables. but I will not be using the value of age from a variable. I will be passing on any direct value. So I have kept the syntax exactly same as above, and instead of age variable, I have given it as 20. Similarly, you can do it for employee ID and address and name also. Suppose name, I just write XYZ. So again, positional arguments are there. All these four are positional. Let me just run this. You can see age is now printed 20 since we created this age variable but never used it to print its value. So this is all about like passing on direct values instead of variable. Now, if sequence is changed, then you need to specify the index location. So here in this example, I changed the sequence of employee ID and age, then it printed the wrong output. How to correct this? There is an option to it. To correct that, if sequence is changed, then you need to specify the index locations. So I already told you that in Python, indexes start from 0. So this 20 is at 0th location. This is employee ID is at first location, address at second, and name at third. So to print that, if the values are jumbled, okay. So here for name, third argument is name and fourth argument is address. That means name and address are jumbled here. So for 20, it is coming at 0th location. I have given age as 0th location. Then employee ID is at first location. I have given it as first location. And for address, this should come at third location, not second. It should be come at after name. So name has actually it has third location. That's why I passed on third here and 2 here, since address is at 0, 1 and 2. Is this example clear? Let me run this and you can see the output is being populated correctly. This was also an example of position arguments, but we specifically mentioned the positions here if the sequence is jumbled. Okay, now let's see what are keyword arguments and how they are used. If there is a mix of position and keyword arguments, again defining 4 variables, and here what we have done in format function, we have given the value 20 to age, 15 to what, like employee ID. There's something wrong. Let me just remove this. Okay, now it is fine. So 20 to age, we have written ID is equal to employee ID. Let me do EID, and here also EID. Okay. So what we are doing, 20 is a position argument. That's why it will go to age in the first empty curly braces. But now concept comes for keyword arguments. How keyword arguments work? Keyword argument doesn't bother about the sequence at which you are writing, since we are referencing them to a specific keyword. So to what keyword employee ID is referring to? It is referring to EID. So we can either write employee ID as a variable, or I can just pass on 1530, any number for employee ID, and this value will be passed on to EID. Then we are specifically mentioning that for employee ID, we are using EID, right? And for next address, we are assigning it to add, and for name, we are assigning it to N. And how to call them? For address, we are writing inside the curly braces as add, to which we are referring to, and for name, we are writing N. This is the variable which is referring to name. So these are the keyword arguments. This is similar to defining a variable, but inside a function, which is format. So these are keyword arguments, and this is position argument. So if we write 20 at the end, that will throw an error, since 20 will move to the third location or third position, and that position argument should be used at the first position. So this will definitely throw an error. So one thing that please note it down, this is very important, that keyword arguments must follow positional arguments. maybe you can note it down, because this is like, you should keep it in your mind, that keyword arguments must follow position arguments. This means always position arguments should come first, and keyword arguments should be should come after position arguments. If I run this, you can see the output is printed correctly. And the last question for this is, if there is a mix of positional and keyword. I have taken this example. Keyword arguments must follow position arguments. Let's prove that. So what I have done, I have written ID is equal to employee ID, add is equal to address, n is equal to name. I have also written ID, but remember ID is a function, so I should not use this keyword. Although it will work, but that is not recommended. So let me change that to EID. And at the end, I have given a position argument. So as I told that it will definitely throw an error. So I tried to resolve it, but you can see for employee ID, I have given EID. For address, I have given add. For name, I have given N. And I tried to keep it as 20 at third position and given it as third, but still it will not work. Let me run it. You can see positional argument follows keyword argument. Is this concept clear? This is there in Python 2 and Python 3 as well, but fstring was not there in Python 2. That is why these days fstring is used mostly, because that is very easy to write. This format function get us confused most of the times. But is this concept clear? Because sometimes if you go for an interview, people ask if you know the difference between f format and the fstring. Okay. The next topic is going to be very important. I'm using 3 times very, because this string slicing, indexing and slicing and dicing is used in strings, in tuple, in list, in dictionary, and then in you can say pandas, numpy, everywhere in Python from now onwards. It will be used, and whatever I have printed on here on the screen, this is an image that I created on Excel right here. So if you understand this concept, I am guaranteeing you that you will never going to make any error in this concept, because like even when I was learning, I also got confused in this concept, because like due to some practice issues, and you can understand that. But now if I am going to explain this, and if you're focusing here, I'm guaranteeing you that you will not forget this funda that is there. So there are 3 concepts. First is indexing, and then slicing and dicing. So this is just one concept. Basically 2 concepts are there. First is indexing, and slicing and dicing is just one. So what is indexing? This is used to find out the value at some index location within a string. This is done by giving index location in the square brackets. This is the syntax that we will be using. So we use square brackets to find out the value at a specific index, suffix of variable name. And indexing can be performed for strings, tuples, list. This is wrong. Sets are not supported. And dictionaries, but not for numbers. Not for numbers and sets. Okay. So, and of course, in the library such as pandas, numpy, this is very much used. So now let's understand the concept first, then only we'll be taking up the examples. Let me go to Excel. Okay, so suppose this is a string. I have written, name is equal to something like this. So there is a space in between my first name and last name, and there are 7 characters in my first name, 6 characters in my last name. So total characters are 7 plus a white space, which is plus 1, which comes to 8, and 8 plus 6 is 14. So total number of characters in this string is 14. Now, how to do the indexing in Python? So as I told that in Python, everything starts from 0, not from 1. So I have written just my name, and if I go positively from left to right, it will start from 1. So k will come at 0th location, a will come at first location, and similarly h will come at 3, and at if I go to end, r will come at 13th location. So what is at, if I check what is at 5th location, it will come as s as the answer. Similarly, if I check what is there in 7th location, it will come at as blank. But this is when we are going from left to right positively, right? But in Python, we can also do negatively, like going from right to left. So how does it happen? So from when you're going from right to left, it doesn't start from 0, it starts from 1, sorry, -1. So our rth location from, if you are going right to left, will be -1, and similarly k will have -3 and h will have -8, and finally, since there are 14 characters and it started from -1, it will go up to -14, which is my first character of first name. So positively from 0 it gets started and goes up to n-1. N is the number of characters in my name or any string. And if I going negatively from right to left, it starts from -1 and goes up to n, minus n basically. Is this concept clear? Because if you keep this in mind, you will never forget this concept and you will get the correct answer all the time. If anyone has any question, please ask it right away. Hello. Please, guys, please little bit collaborate. Otherwise, I will also sleep. It is like an
This is
integer
fine.
number line. Yes, yes, you're correct, Chetan. It is like a number line, but we have to keep in mind if we are going from left to right, then it will start from 0. But if we're going negatively from right to left, it will start from -1 up to -n. This is the only concept. Yes, yes, Sunil. I also like found this method, not sure in which article, but this was very great. Okay, going back to Jupyter Notebook, and now I'm damn sure you will be going to answer each and every question because I'm not going to answer it. You will tell me what would be the answer. So name is equal to first name space last name. So what will be there at first position? I have already written. It will be at first position. How to write it? You have to write the variable name, and in the square bracket, just write the index location, which is 1. So it will print A as the answer, as you can see. If I write -6 name and then in the square brackets just the -6th location, so check -6th location is G. You can see G is the answer. So we have just tested it that this method is working perfectly. So this was indexing just to find out the values at a specific index. This was indexing. Now the important concept is slicing and dicing, which takes a base of indexing. I think the time is going to end and just 1 minute is left. Can we just rejoin so that we can continue and call doesn't get disconnected within this concept? So
Yes, yes.
let's disconnect
Yeah.
and rejoin.